Hey guys, and welcome back to another video with your two favorite book nerds, Avery
and Kelly.
Today we're going to be talking about the books that we read in January. Alrighty.
You got a pile.
I got a pile of books. I don't know what happened in January, but I went on a reading binge.
Yes. There's a stack. There's a stack.
I don't know if I can bring it. It's really heavy. I swear I do go to the gym, but I know. I'm just as shocked as everyone else here. This is the most amount of books that I've read in 1 month in a long time.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. All right. Well, what are your stats on that stack of books over there?
Let me tell you.
Let's talk about that. Well.
All right. So in the month of January, I read 11 books, 10 of which came off of my physical TBR shelf, so yay. I had a total of 3 5-stars in the month of January.
Let's take a moment for that to sink in.
Yeah, you heard it right. 3
5 stars.
From the girl who only gave 4 5-stars in the entire year of 2025.
Yeah, we just all let's sit with that for a sec. Just sit with that for a sec. How good her reading month must have been to have 3 5-stars. All right,
I know.
proceed.
It honestly makes me worried though that like we started January off with such a bang.
Yeah.
Like I read so many books, had 3 5-stars. What is this gonna mean for the rest of the year?
I don't know, but we're gonna.
Because I feel like we could go downhill from here.
Well, we
you know?
could. There's always that possibility.
True.
You don't really want it to go up. You got to have the bad books in order to appreciate the good books that much more.
That's true.
You just need to learn to DNF. Your average star rating would go up huge if you would just learn to DNF.
But then I wouldn't be able to say that I read so many books. I just have to say that I DNF like 7.
Yeah, but that just slows you down.
It's true.
Reading bad books just slows you down.
It's true. Life is too short to read bad books.
Ain't that the truth? All right, go there.
All right. So my 3 5-stars. Mary by Nat Cassidy, Ghost Camera by Darcy Coates, and Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. Then I had 3 4-stars, which were Start a Villain by John Scalzi, Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater, and The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark. Then I had 3 3.5 stars.
Oh,
I know. Good Girl, Bad Blood, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, and Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man. I had 1 3-star, which was Atomic Habits by James Clear, and 1 2-star that I should have DNF'd, The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley, and 0 1-stars. So my average rating for the month of January was 3.9 stars, and would have been so much higher if I had in fact DNF'd this.
Told you. All right, so I read 7 books in January. Nice. Thank you. So I had 2 5-stars, one of which was Systems Collapse, which is number 7 in the Murderbot series by Martha Wells, and A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett, which is the 2nd in the Din and Anna mystery series. And then I had 2 4-stars, one which was Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross, and the other one which was 12 Months by Jim Butcher. And then I had 3 3-stars, and they were all books by Anne Bishop, Lake Silence, Wild Country, and Crowbones, all 3 stars. And so my average was 4.3.
Nice.
I know, thank you. Thank you.
In the month of January, I read a total of 3,782 pages for an average book length of 344. My longest book was Wild Reverence at like 527,
yeah,
somewhere
like
in there. And my shortest book was Atomic Habits at about 223. I don't know. I always forget to write these down.
I read 2,956 for an average of 422. My longest was also Wild Reverence, and my shortest was Systems Collapse at 245.
For authors, I had 2 authors that were new to me. Nope, that's a lie. How many authors are there? Why did I write these down? 4. I had 4 authors that were new to me. Julie Clark, James Clear, Seth Grahame-Smith, and Nat Cassidy. I will read from all of them again. And I will read from all of the other authors that I've read from before, except for Lucy Foley. She's done me dirty too many times, and I am done with her BS.
There you go. I understand that feeling.
Yep.
My authors were all repeats, and I will read from them all again.
All right, on to genres. I had 3 horrors, 2 thrillers, 2 romantasy, 1 sci-fi, 2 mystery, and 1 nonfiction.
I had 6 fantasy and 1 sci-fi.
Nice.
Yeah, that's simple.
Really playing to your strengths.
I do enjoy playing to my strengths.
All right, and then finally we have formats. The grand shock to everyone is that I actually read most of these books physically.
Look at you go.
I know.
You kind of had to, though, didn't you? Because you
Kinda,
can't buy the audiobooks.
I had to cancel those because that's kind of like buying books, and I'm on a book buying ban. So yep, you're right. I could not. So I only had whatever Spotify would let me listen to, which is not very much.
Not much.
So I read 7 of the books fully physically. I did 1 fully audiobook, and then 3 of them were a combo of audiobook and physical reading.
See, you can do it.
I can, but I don't know if I always want to. That's a lot.
It is a lot. I read 3 physically, and I read 4 as an ebook.
All right, on
Okay.
to the books. So,
Okay.
it's going to be really short for me because I had a lot of other vlogs and videos that came out in the month of January where I talked about most of these books. So, lucky for you, don't get to sit and listen to me talk about them again. Wild Reverence is one that I'm not going to talk about because we just did our book club live for it. So go and check that out.
It is full of spoilers, though.
Yes.
So,
only check it out if you've read it.
yeah.
Or if you don't care about spoilers.
It is a prequel to the Divine Rivals, Ruthless Vows set of books. So it deals in that same world, but much more about the relationships of the gods and the power structures, and there's a bit of a romance between a god and a human. So,
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good. All of these I read for Winterween. And I have a couple of videos that I put out for Winterween where I talked about these books more in depth. The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley pretty much is, there's this group of rich entitled buttholes that go and stay at this cabin out in the middle of the wilderness during winter over like Christmas and New Year's for their annual get-together, and they're all friends, but one of them ends up dead while they're on this trip, whatever, and it's kind of, you have to try and, it's like a mystery as well, thriller mystery. You have to try and figure out who the killer is. By the end of the book, you're just gonna wish that they all died. Honestly. The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark. This is about this girl who, she's a ghostwriter, and she gets a letter from her estranged father, or from her publicist gets a request from her estranged father, but nobody knows that it's her father. He's also a big-time author, and he has agreed that he is going to write 1 more book, but he's only going to write it if she ghostwrites it for him. And the whole premise of the book is he's going to be talking about what had happened when he was a kid, when his brother and sister were murdered.
oh,
And he's going to talk about like what actually happened that night and the whole story. It was pretty good, and it makes me really happy that I liked it because of the sprayed edges. I get to keep it. But like, look at those sprayed edges on this book. It's so pretty. Cool. Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I honestly was questioning whether or not this was real. Like, it was done that well. It literally had me Googling, is this real? Like, the whole book pretty much is just about Seth Grahame-Smith writing the story of Abraham Lincoln being a vampire hunter and his life based off of the journal of Abraham Lincoln and other letters and stuff that he was given by Vincent this vampire. If you like history and you like vampires, you might like this book. It was better than I was expecting it to be. I still need to watch that movie though. They made it into a movie.
They did.
Tim Burton.
Mm-hmm.
I need to watch that. Moving on. Ghost Camera by Darcy Coates. This is a collection of short stories, which I didn't know. Ghost Camera is a novella. That's the first 100 pages of this book, and then the whole rest of it is bonus stories, various different like horror, spooky, paranormal ones. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's gonna freak you out, especially if you read this in the dark by yourself. It's gonna freak you out. It freaked me out when I was reading it in the middle of the day. Okay, fan-freaking-tastic. And then finally we have Mary, An Awakening of Terror, which it truly was an awakening of terror. We have Mary, who is premenopausal, which she hates that people know that she's premenopausal. And she is having these visions, and she is having trouble. Like, she can't look into the mirror, because if she looks into a mirror and she sees herself, then she's gonna start seeing herself like decomposing and like bugs coming out of her. And she can't look at any other women because the same thing happens if she looks at other women. And she ends up having to go back home to her like childhood home to visit her aunt and help her aunt out, who her aunt's a terrible person, but whatever. And she ends up finding out a little bit more about what's going on with her, and there's a little bit of a cult aspect and a reincarnation aspect and some paranormals, and it's just, oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good.
Threw it all in there.
Yeah, I absolutely freaking love this book. It was so good. And it was also so creepy. Like, Nat Cassidy did a fantastic job of like writing horrific scenes that like you could just like, oh, just loved it. I love it so much. Okay, then we have Starter Villain by John Scalzi. I feel like I've talked about all of these books 50 million times, and especially this one, because I loved it so much. Charlie, down on his luck, gets a letter from his now dead uncle, who was a billionaire, saying that his presence is requested at his funeral or whatever, and it turns out that his uncle was a supervillain and Charlie is inheriting the business, and it just goes off from there. Already a ridiculous premise, and then it gets even more ridiculous, but in like the best way, and we have secret agent cats and unionized dolphins, and it's just, I think I talked about this in our
25.
Mm-hmm. This is why I feel like I've talked about 50 million times, but yeah, it's so good. It's so good. Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. We have Dora, who is missing half of her soul and is in London with her cousin, who is out to try and find a match, and she ends up meeting Lord Sorcia Elias and forming a romance between them, and then also dealing with some fairy things and whatnot to try and maybe get her missing half of her soul back. It's Bridgerton with magic, and it was really good. This is why I don't read that many books in a month, honestly, because I don't want to sit here and talk about them for so long.
You're doing fine. You're doing good. Keep it up. Keep it up.
Okay, I'm almost there. Good Girl, Bad Blood. Second book in a Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. We have Pip Fitzamobi, who is back in the game once again, trying to solve a new case. This time it is a disappearance of her friend's brother, and it gets crazy again. There's some danger, people die, and it's a lot for a high school student to be doing, but which is kind of my little thing with the book. But overall, it was pretty good. The twists and stuff, especially at the end. The first half of this book was like really slow, kind of dragged, but then after that, it picked up, and the ending definitely was a lot better. The two books that I haven't said any words about yet. Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man. So in this book, this is the second book in the Vera Wong series. Vera gets scammed over the phone, and so she has to go to the police station to report this. And so she's at the police station and she runs across this girl, Millie, who is there looking scared out of her mind, whatever. And so Vera clocks this and is just like, immediately, come with me back to my tea house, let's go have tea. Let's go sit and talk. What's bothering you, sweetheart? You know, I'm a Chinese mother. I know these things. And she loves to say that, like, all of the time. And so Millie has tea with Vera, and she starts telling her why she was at the police station. It's because her friend Thomas went missing, and she doesn't know what to do, how to find him. And so Vera thinks that since she helped solve the murder case from the first book, that she is now an investigator herself, and she's taken on the case to try and find Millie's missing friend Thomas. It's just as ridiculous as the first one. You have a whole lot of this more like found family aspect in it again, because just like in the first book, and just seeing Vera collect all of the suspects together and make them become friends and whatever. And as she's like writing in her little notebook about like suspect does this, like blah blah blah, and like it's so fun. Like, these books are so much fun. They remind me a lot of Finley Donovan, just in being like light, don't think too hard about them books. I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one. I think I gave the first one 4 stars and this one was 3.5, just because this one almost felt like there were a lot of things that were just repeated, like her rounding up all the stuff. Like, it just felt like I was reading the same book, so I kind of gave it a half of a star less for that reason. But this book got dark. Like, there was some human trafficking stuff going on in this book, and a lot of death. It got a little dark there towards the end. Overall, definitely would recommend that one.
Power through, almost done.
Atomic Habits by James Clear. So I have a goal for 2026 where I want to read at least one nonfiction book every month, just to try and, I don't know, become a more well-rounded reader. I don't freaking know. This happened to be the one that I chose for January because it was already on my TBR shelf and it needed to get off of the TBR shelf. It was like every other self-help book that I've read. It felt like I was reading the same thing over and over again, just like presented in different ways. I do think that there was some like good helpful things in here, and like some things that you could I personally could definitely apply specifically to the financial stuff that I'm doing. For instance, like one of the things was how when you set a goal, like you shouldn't focus on like the goal, but the steps that you need to take to achieve the goal, which is like,
it's a journey, not a destination.
Yeah, like it's very common sense. The way that he put it made me like, oh, light bulb. Yeah, overall it wasn't anything spectacular. Like I said, it's like every other self-help book that I've read, so I won't be keeping it. I didn't get the hype because this is apparently like one of the best, like must read. Everyone raves about this book. It didn't get the hype. I don't know.
People are just not as good as you are.
Obviously.
I mean, you know.
Obviously. I'm just kidding. No. That was a joke. That was a joke. That was a joke, I swear.
That was a joke.
I need a lot of help, just not in that way.
Alright.
I'm ready to sit back and listen now.
Okay, well, I will also say, or also not talk about Wild Reverence. We already did talk about it, plus there's the book club video. If you have read it, you can watch that video because there's lots of spoilers. So there is that. Okay, so for my ebooks, I read 12 Months, which is number 18 in the Dresden Files series by Jim Butcher. Can't talk a lot about because we're in book 18. There's not a whole lot I could say about it, except this is a series of books that follows Harry Dresden, who is Chicago's only professional wizard. So he is out there, he is telling people that he has magic, that he is a wizard, and of course nobody believes him, but he does have a working relationship with the police department, where they have a department there called the Special Investigations, and so anything that comes across as kind of woo-woo gets sent off to the specialist. So he has a relationship with them. He helps them solve cases. He's a private investigator, all of that kind of stuff. And that's very much true for the first at least probably 6-7 books in this series. But in the background of all of that, when there's cases that he's on, there's also the supernatural world, which is not out and about, you know, with the people. The people do not know about the supernatural world. And so you have vampires, you have werewolves, you have the fae, the fairy realms. You've got all of that going on, and Harry dealing with different aspects of them. As the series starts out, you're dealing with, like, one book deals with the werewolves, and one book deals with the vampires, and there's like 3 different kinds of vampires. So anyway, as he kind of maneuvers through all of that. And then you hit book 12 or 11, I can't remember. All of these books have 2-word titles, so this is 12 months, except for, I think anyway, whatever book it was, changes. So at that point, something massive happened, like blew this world up, and then you move on and go back to 2-word titles. So number 18 was called Battleground. So just by his title conventions, you can tell that it actually blew up again, massively, majorly, like apocalyptic levels of blowing up. So with 12 months, this is obviously the book after that one, and much like the book after Changes was kind of a transitional kind of book, kind of a breather kind of book, 12 months is the same way. So as the title suggests, it deals with the first year after the events in Battleground. So there are some massive things going on, and I just can't really talk about a lot of them. At this point, Harry has pretty well done away with the whole PI thing. There aren't murder investigations going on anymore. We are fully in the supernatural realm at this point. And while there may be some sort of mystery that needs to be resolved, it's not like the PI gumshoe noir kind of feel that you had in the beginning. We are definitely now moving into that. I guess just in a general sense with the series too, I would say it's a lot of fun. It's a whole lot of fun. And the way that Jim Butcher writes and plots, and the way that he writes Harry as a character, is all very good. It's really entertaining. It's a fun ride. There are things. It's a male writer writing a male character. So there are things sometimes. So, you know, if you can just kind of let go of that and just like go for the ride, yeah, then you'll be okay. And it's nothing like hugely overt, but just sometimes. There wasn't really anything I wouldn't say necessarily too much in this particular book. Just again, dealing with the aftermath of the huge deal. It is on the slow side. There was a major cast character that was killed in Battleground. And so there's a lot of dealing with the different characters going through grief and processing that part of their crew is not there anymore, and kind of all that kind of stuff. I just really can't say any much more about that because it is so way different now than it was at the beginning. Jim Butcher has said there will be 20 books in the series, and then there will be an apocalyptic trilogy to end it all out. And I'm like, I see where he's starting to go. I see where he's starting to go. Anyway, okay. My other 3 ebooks that I read are all by Anne Bishop, and they're all set in, they're stories about the world of the others. And it is Lake Silence is number 1, Wild Country is number 2, and Crowbones is number 3. So in this world, it is like an alternate our world, sort of. So it's very much recognizable as this is North America, but it's not called North America. There's very little resemblance. So in this world, in North America, that's not called North America. It's so weird. The world is ruled by what's called the others. And these are like spiritual, like earth creatures. They call them, what is the term? The terra indigene. So like the earth something. Anyway, these are like the indigenous people of the world. So the indigenous peoples of this, they're like these supernatural creatures that as they interacted with the world, the way that a particular individual would interact with the world would change them and the way they would develop. So some of them would develop into shifters. So like you got like kind of like werewolves. You kind of are the were creature. So you got like bears and coyotes and wolves and crows, you know, all of this. And then there's others that they're called the elementals. So they're literally, they can take a somewhat human shaped form, but they are fire, water, earth, wind, all of those kind of things. And then you've got others that you really, in the book so far anyway, you never really see them. They're called the elders. And they basically like, they're like, there's like these all-powerful kind of creatures. And if a human like steps out of line, they do bad things. So they're the ones that are like in control in North America. Now you have the humans that, as in our history, they immigrated to North America, but instead of like taking over, they got put into like little areas. So some cities would be human controlled areas, and then you'd have huge areas that were all controlled by the others. And there's constant conflict here because the others are very controlling over what resources the humans can have. And the humans don't really necessarily care for that. So there's also all these clashes. So in the main series, which starts with Written in Red, I think, it's like a 4 or 5 book main series. So in that whole series, you kind of get introduced. And these books are after that. So they're in the same world, but not as part of that main series. And this is very long-winded way to try and get into this. So in I think it was the 4th book of the main series, there was a massive, like, cataclysmic thing that happened and wiped out a lot of humanity. So there was a big thing that happened. So these books are taking place after that big thing happened. And these places that, there are still some places that are, well, they're still called human controlled, but they're really not anymore. Basically the humans got uppity and the elders came in and knocked them down a notch. In the first book, Lake Silence is dealing with this woman named Vicky who is leaving an abusive marriage. She's getting a divorce, and as part of the divorce settlement, she got this kind of resort house on this lake called Lake Silence. It's called the Jumble. So this whole inn, there's cabins that go with it, blah, blah. She's trying to redo everything to make it like a little resort, like a little bed and breakfast kind of little compound here. But also, because some of the others that can shift into a human form, but they don't have much communication with humans, so they don't necessarily know how to act with humans. So they will come and stay at Vicky's place to observe what humans do, and Vicky helps them to like learn how to deal with humans. Okay, so it's kind of like this little teaching place as well. So at the beginning of Lake Silence, Vicky has moved in. She's starting to do these things, and one of the boarders at her place is from the Crow Guard, so she's a crow shifter, and she's about ready to put an eyeball in the microwave. And so that's how Vicky discovers that there's a dead body on her land.
Nice.
So that's how we start out. That is kind of like a murder mystery, and you know, during this investigation and finding out what's going on and who this man is and what he was doing out here. Of course, tensions between humans and the Earth natives kind of are getting, things are getting tense there. So that was that book. Okay, so in Wild Country, you have Jana, who lives in the South, in what in our world would be like Georgia, Alabama, that way. She has gone through the whole police academy, taken some rough knocks, because in this world, you're not going to get a female police officer. And so she finds out that there is a kind of job offer out in the Wild Country, which is basically anywhere outside of human controlled areas. But this is way out. And it is like in an area that was ground zero for the big thing that happened in the main series. So she sees it, and she's feeling like this is going to be her only option for being able to be a police officer. So she applies and she's accepted, and off she goes. I didn't like this one as much as the other one. It felt a little thrown together. I don't know. It was very much a Western. So, because they were even like, so many of the characters like were fans of Western books. And there's like an old-timey saloon where everybody dresses up. And yeah, it was not my favorite, but it was okay. Oh, in Wild Country, of course, again, this is where like ground zero happened. So you also have, things are really tense there already. But then you have people, like when that thing happened, they locked down these regions. So if you were in this region, you could no longer get out to go. Even if you weren't at home, you couldn't get out. So if you were in the Midwest region, you could not leave. So that left a lot of people stranded, and some of them were not very good people. So like in the whole Western genre, you had the outlaws coming to town, right? Of course. Okay. So that's kind of the deal there. And then the number 3, the third one, is Crow Bones. And this time we're back with Vicky at the Jumble again. And it is basically Halloween. And they're doing the whole trick-or-treating thing and all of this stuff. And then they're having a party at the main house at Vicky's resort thing. And then there's a knock on the door, and she now has 3 of the Crow Guard who are working for her. And they go off to answer the phone, and they just absolutely completely freak out. And it's this kind of, the person who apparently was at the door is the boogeyman of the Crow Guard named Crow Bones. And there's a whole thing that goes on with that. But everybody's freaking out, and this whatever it is disappears. Well, then they find human remains and find out that some dumbass college kid had dressed up to prank them. But this one was actually fairly good, because it really got into ways that people were trying to manipulate the Earth natives into doing so that they could study their behavior and how they reacted to different things. And then there was another group that was doing weird things, and there was like people getting killed. Like the body count was huge in this book. And in very icky ways too. So here's Vicky trying to work. Again, relations between the others. That's a big theme in every one of these books, is that something happens and then all of a sudden everybody's mad at each other and tensions are flaring and all of that. Everybody has to calm it down. Anyway, that's like a theme with every one of these books. So, I spent way too much time on those 3 books. As a whole, I do like them. I like the world. I like the imagination behind it. If there's a lot of gender stuff in here, and like I don't think it doesn't really stop like anybody from doing anything. It's not like anybody's oppressed, other than like the one Jana couldn't become a police officer or whatever. So it's not like, you know, people are like oppressing women and making them stay home or do anything like that, but just the way they treat, it's very stereotypical, kind of the way they treat each other. Like in one, I remember in the main series with the main group of people, the men who are predominantly the others and the women are predominantly human in this particular time. And it's like whenever something needs to be taken care of, the women are like, you need to do this and we're gonna tell you what to do, and the men call them exploding puffballs. And it's just like so gendered, it's kind of weird. So there's things like that kind of happen, like women trying to get their point across in very, very stereotypically female ways, and then men like being almost dismissive because it's just women doing women things. There is a flavor of that in all of these books as well. But at the same time, like especially in the 2 books where Vicky is, you know, Vicky's out there running her own business, doing her own thing, telling, you know, so it's not like there's action behind it. It's just like the way that they view it's weird. It's a weird dynamic that sometimes definitely drops it in my estimation of that. But I do think it's a really cool world. And I'll continue to read them just because they're fun, if nothing else. It's just kind of interesting. But anyway, I'm going to get off those. Again, way too long. I try and explain too much. Okay. Then I have Systems Collapse by Martha Wells. This is number 7. So I'm now caught up. Number 8 doesn't come out until like May or August or something like that. And I'm also caught up enough that I can watch the Apple TV show now. Finally. I've been wanting to do that for a long time. So this is we're back to a short version again. But it's still not as short as some of the novellas were beforehand. But this one picks up just exactly where the last one left off. So again, number 7 in a series, can't talk too much about it. But this is following Murderbot, who is a human robot construct. So while they have all of the like processing ability, they're a computer, you know, can do all this thing like a robot does. They also have human emotions, human thoughts. They're always talking about their gray matter. Very weird ways. But it just continues on. It's still action-packed. It's still an adventure, action, sci-fi book. But what I just really love the most is Murderbot and their growing relationships with people. And the more it goes on, the more people that they have relationships with, and just trying to figure out how to do that. And they don't particularly like very many people, but they do. It's just really interesting. Like, they get so mad and they get so exasperated and they get so annoyed, but yet they like their people. So it's really fun. This one, the book right before this and this one, they're actually on a planet, and there's kind of a competition, or a not really a competition. They're in direct conflict with each other. But in this world, they have what's called the corporate rim. And these planets are strictly run by corporations. Like absolutely everything is by corporation. And then you have on the other side of that, you have the things like there's one of the groups involved in this is from a university, and the other group that's involved is where Murderbot comes in, and his group that's from preservation, and they're more like the free, considered the free, there's a word for it, the planets that kind of aren't forcing people to do things. And anyway, they have come to this planet because there was a corporation that owned this planet that kind of like went belly up and went bankrupt. And so the university was trying to come in and get this planet. Mm-hmm. And another corporation was coming in to try and get this planet. They find out there's people still on this planet, living colonists. And so there's this kind of like negotiation going on with these people on this planet. And then, of course, weird things start to happen, and Murderbot has to kill a bunch of people and
all right.
So this is just a continuation of that. So it's kind of interesting because now next Murderbot made a decision that's going to take them in like a different direction. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on. It's still funny. It is still really, really funny and so relatable. I mean, that you can relate so hard to a robot. But yeah, I do, really. And I've said it before, the most human character in this book is the non-human. Just the way they process their thoughts and emotions. The way, every time they talk about, I had an emotion, or this caused me to have a big emotion. Like, yeah, I get you, Murderbot. All right, last book is A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is the second of the Anna and Den mystery series. I did talk about this in our 25 for 25 video, so you can kind of go back and watch that. I won't talk about it a lot, but it is very much a Sherlock Holmes in a fantasy world. And he has created such a rich, like, really complicated, complex world that is so very cool. So cool. So in this one, Anna and Den get called kind of to the very outskirts of the empire that they belong to. Because there's been a treasury officer has completely disappeared off the map. All that's left behind in his locked room is some blood. So the windows were locked, the doors were locked. His room was in a tower that was too high for anybody to jump to. And so Anna and Den have to figure out what happened to him and basically who took him. And at the same time, at the edge of the empire, the next country over, they're in negotiations for this country to kind of come into the empire. And then at the same time, there are leviathans that live in the ocean, and during the wet season they come up on land and they have to be killed. But once they get killed, then you can harvest their blood because there's power and magic in their blood, and you can make all kinds of cool things out of their blood. And so they haul these big bodies of the leviathans down to this place called the Shroud, and that's where all the harvesting goes on. And turns out there's secret shit going on in that thing. All of this is going on along with the murder mystery. So much going on. I did like the first one a tiny bit better, but this one was really cool too. So the murder mystery, the world building, there is some horror aspects. There is a bit of gore and violence in these as well. So I mean, yeah, some pretty, I would almost classify this as murder mystery fantasy horror, honestly, because there's some pretty horrific stuff that goes on in here. All right, well, that was it for me.
Well then, that is gonna do it for our January reading wrap-up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, go down below the video. And
got ahead of her. I tried to mix them.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Go and check us out over on TikTok and Instagram at Everyday Epic Book Club for even more bookish content.
Oh, and also you can check out the rest of Amy's channel. There's a lot more book content on there as well. And there's also all kinds of other stuff like home renovations and deep cleaning videos and party decorating for parties. Halloween's the girls' season, so when that comes around, there's all kinds of stuff going on. She's also has a series right now on working towards financial independence and getting her finances in order. So you can follow along with all that. Also, there's the blog, and you can go over there and read about things like Watch It Wednesdays and Foodie Fridays. So check it all out and become a part of the entire Everyday Adventurer family. Yeah.
All right, well, like I said, hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I'm Amy.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are
The Everyday Epic.
I'll see you on the next one.
Bye.